All right, welcome back to Developer Roadmaps. So far, we've mostly talked about how to send content to a user. But what about getting information from them? Well, that's our next major checkpoint. Today, we're diving into HTML forms, the technology that really makes the web a two-way street.
Yeah, in our last explainer, we looked at how to display all sorts of content to the user. You know, images, audio, video, all the stuff that turns a plain page into a much richer experience.
But think about it. Every single time you've signed up for a service or logged into your account, or even just uploaded a profile picture, all of those interactions where you're the one sending the data to the website, they all start with one single core HTML technology.
And that technology is, of course, HTML forms. They're what turns a website from a monologue, where the server just talks at you, into a real dialogue. They are the essential tool that allows you, the user, to send information back. This is where the web gets truly interactive. So let's break down how they're actually built.
Okay, so everything has to start somewhere, and with forms, it all begins with a container. Before you can add a single input field, you've got to create the form itself.
The best way to think about the form tag is like a digital envelope. On its own, it doesn't really look like much, right? But its whole job is to wrap up all the little pieces of information you put inside it, getting them all bundled up and ready to be sent off.
And just like a real envelope, this one needs two key things: an address to send it to and a delivery method. In HTML, these are the action and method attributes. The action's pretty straightforward. It's just the URL where all that data is going. But the method, that tells the browser how to send it. And there are two main ways to do that.
First, you've got the GET method. Think of this like sending a postcard. All the data you submit gets tacked onto the end of the URL, right out there in the open for anyone to see. It's totally fine for something harmless like a search query. But for anything sensitive, you absolutely want to use the POST method. This is like putting your information in a sealed letter. The data sent in the body of the request, hidden from plain sight. So here's the key takeaway. When in doubt, and especially with things like passwords or personal info, always use POST.
All right, so we've got our envelope ready. Now it's time to actually put something inside it. We need the fields where users can enter their information. And that comes down to two fundamental building blocks: labels and inputs.
So if you look at this piece of code, you might think, yeah, that looks right. You've got a label that says username sitting right next to an input field, and visually on the page it seems to work. But here's the catch. Behind the scenes, these two elements are total strangers. They're completely disconnected and have no idea the other one even exists.
And the solution is actually really simple but incredibly powerful. All we do is give the input a unique ID, think of it like a lock. Then we go over to the label and add a for attribute that matches that exact same ID. That's the key. This simple pairing creates an explicit, unbreakable connection between the two, and trust me, this tiny change has some massive benefits.
So why does this little link matter so much? Well, first off, accessibility. A screen reader now knows exactly what that input field is for, so it can announce username when a user gets to it. That's huge. And second, just plain old usability. You can now click or tap on the label itself to focus the input field. On a small touchscreen, that is a game changer. It really is one of those tiny details that makes a world of difference for your users.
Okay, so we have our field set up, but what's to stop a user from entering, say, their name into an email field? How do we make sure we get the right kind of data? Now, you could reach for JavaScript, but HTML actually gives us a really powerful first line of defense. You can think of it as a helpful little gatekeeper, built right into the browser itself. Take a look at this password field. Just by adding two simple attributes, required and min length equals 8, we've given the browser instructions. We've told it, hey, this field cannot be empty, and whatever is entered has to be at least 8 characters long. And the best part? The browser will now enforce those rules for us, automatically. No JavaScript needed.
This whole process has a name. It's called client-side validation. It's an initial check that happens right there, on the user's device, in their browser. And this is fantastic for the user experience, because it gives them immediate feedback. You don't have to wait for a slow round trip to the server just to be told, oops, you forgot to fill something out.
And with HTML5, we've got a whole toolbox for this stuff. You can make a field required so it can't be skipped. You can check the input against a complex pattern using regular expressions. You can set min and max values for numbers or dates. You can even control the min length and max length for text. It's a surprisingly powerful way to guide your users toward giving you valid data, all happening right inside their browser.
Okay, But listen up, because this next point is absolutely critical. It's a big one. Client-side validation is for user experience. It is not, I repeat, not a security feature. A malicious user can bypass it in seconds. You must always validate the data again on your server, no exceptions. The best way to think about it is this. Browser validation is a helpful courtesy, but server validation is the real security guard at the door.
All right, let's switch gears a bit and tackle a special case that requires a few extra steps, handling file uploads. So, to let a user upload a file, you just need an input with its type set to file. The browser sees that and automatically gives you a Choose File button. Pretty neat. We can also add this Accept attribute, which is a nice little hint to the browser to filter the file selection window to only show specific types, like JPEGs or PNGs in this case. It just makes it a little easier for the user to find what they're looking for.
Now, this is super important. For a file upload to actually work, the form tag itself needs two critical changes. First, the method absolutely has to be post. You just can't send a whole file's data through the URL with get. And second, and this is the one people always forget, the enctype or encoding type must be set to multipart/form data. This basically tells the browser to package everything up in a special way that can handle the raw data of a file. If you forget this, your file upload will just fail.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the core steps to building a good form. First, you create your form container and set its action and method. Second, you add all the input fields for the data you need. Third, and don't skip this, pair every single input with a correctly linked label. And finally, fourth, add those handy validation attributes to guide your users. You stick to those steps and you'll build a solid user-friendly form every time.
So, as we've seen, tags like form and label do more than just put something on the screen. They actually define meaning and structure. And that idea, that's the key to our next stop on the roadmap.
Really think about that for a second. A label isn't just a piece of text. It has a very specific job. An input type equals email isn't just a generic text box. It comes with built-in meaning and behavior. This whole idea, using HTML tags to describe the meaning of your content, not just its appearance, is a fundamental principle of the modern way.
So in our next explainer, we're going to dive deep into this concept. We'll be exploring semantic markup, how choosing the right HTML tag for the right job can have a massive impact on accessibility, search engine optimization, and the overall health and structure of your entire website.
Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you at the next checkpoint. This is Developer Roadmaps. Map your path, build your career.